Welcome to Tap In. My name is David Figueroa-Martinez of DFM Coaching, and today we're going to be discussing why Jiu-Jitsu leaders cannot stay silent about what's going on in this country. I've been grappling with this topic for quite a bit. I wrote a piece sometime last year, kind of covering certain aspects of it. I tend not to discuss politics at the gym and in group texts and with group settings generally when it has jiu-jitsu, when it's a jiu-jitsu an event or a setting where we're out somewhere. But I am vocal about certain things that I see and I think are wrong, or certain things that I think we should be doing different as a country. And I refuse to not speak on those things when I'm watching some of the shit that's going on currently. It's difficult because you don't want to alienate students, you don't want to alienate people, you don't want to alienate yourself in large degrees, because this sport and this culture in certain demographics is very conservative. First and foremost, this has little to do with left and right. It has very little to do with how we should balance a budget, or what services we should cut or keep, or what we should invest in. Those types of politics and difference of ideas, I think, are beyond or not part of this discussion. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're independent, left, libertarian. I personally have certain views and values that could be from one side or another. Like, I personally believe in the Second Amendment. I also believe that there should be some common sense approaches to it. I believe that anyone that wants to live their life a certain way, by all means, if you're not hurting kids or forcing someone else to be a certain thing, I'm completely fine. But I don't care how people live their lives. None of my business. I am very accepting of people on both sides, as long as you're not encroaching on certain things. I was raised Buddhist for most of my life, so I have a very mellow approach to a lot of things that sometimes are hot topic issues. And that's just the way I've generally been in my faith growing up. It was about, accepting what people were and changing what you can change and accepting what you couldn't, and moving forward and not addressing and not casting judgment and forcing people to live a certain way. With that being said, I think that what's currently going on, whether it's the masked individuals who are encroaching on people's rights, or kidnapping people, or accosting people only to find out that they're Americans, and everything else that we're seeing, much of this is affecting the jiu-jitsu community, and not a ton of people are speaking up within it. There's Fighting Matters. There's a couple of people that I'm real cool with that are doing that work, but it's not widely pushed or discussed. And I find that incredibly weird, because all of this is affecting your students, your academies, and your businesses as a whole. Whether it's the tariffs, whether it's ICE, whether it's the way the country's really turning right and hard right, all of it is affecting your entire ecosystem. And we're just not doing a whole lot about it. We're not speaking up about it. Many of us are quiet. And again, there are certain people that are very vocal. I commend them and I appreciate it and I love it. Politics are these top politics specifically, this past year, have affected your gyms in ways many of you aren't admitting. It affects who feels safe in a gym. It affects who feels safe traveling to and from a gym. Who has access to certain health care, mental health care, is who can afford training, who feels protected against discrimination, who feels like they can move about without any concern. All those things are problems right now. Being Black and Hispanic, Puerto Rican specifically, I have grown up all my life having to deal with certain things. You sometimes get so numb to some of those things that they are just part of your natural ritual of just existing. The way you enter rooms, you eyeball and you check out who's in a room. Not that I'm going to shy away from entering any room or that I'm going to make jump assessments of everyone in a room. But if I go into a certain room and I don't see people that look like me or people that resemble me in any way, my guard might be a little up. The same way a woman enters a room and it's none but guys. Guard goes a little up. So I'm used to that space. I'm used to existing and living that way. And San Diego is a beautiful place. It's you can find everything under the sun. So it's far more embracing, specifically certain parts of San Diego. So when I move around, for the most part, I feel comfortable. I feel okay. There are moments where I'm like, okay, I need to pay attention to things a little different here. But what's happening now with ICE and the way they're conducting business, the way they are strong-arming and aggressively questioning people, breaking windows, shoving people, addressing people in a way that's disrespectful. It's not like your typical police officer that comes to you. Your typical police officer understands a certain engagement. Not that they're all like that. Some of them are terrible. But your typical police officer will engage you in a certain way with some level of professionalism. And when you are in that space where you're seeing what's going on now, it puts you on high alert everywhere you go. And some of you, this isn't even a blip. That's a blessing for you because you're not on their radar. I have 2 last names. I have skin color. I was born in Puerto Rico. It changes the dynamic quite a bit. The other day I left my ID in my wallet at home. And a couple years ago, I wouldn't even thought about it. I'd be like, fuck it, I don't need it. I'll be back home. I'll grab it then. And now it's, no, I need to go back. I was like 3 blocks away. I was like, fuck, I left it. And I turned around and came back. I got my wallet and everything. Not that it's even going to save me at all, because in some cases, they don't even let you produce any documentation. They just swooping you up, leaving your car behind, and putting you in some fucking cell somewhere, hoping that you can get a call and you can get home and you can get where you need to go without being deported to God knows where. Like, those are realistic fears that people within the community are having. So it's infecting and it's bleeding over into the mats. I leave home early in the morning to go teach a 5 a.m. class. And when I'm driving, every once in a while, I'm like, hope I get home. Every once in a while. I hope I get home. My wife came to me recently because I'm supposed to teach a seminar at a Jiu-Jitsu camp in Kentucky. I've been to Kentucky once. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I was there, I think it was 3-4 days last year for the same camp. And I went as a spectator, and they extended the offer to teach. I was so fucking excited to it. And I'm getting ready to start purchasing the ticket and scheduling a room or Airbnb or whatever, whatnot. and everything's going on right now. The shootings, the way ICE is conducting themselves, how harsh it is, and it makes people of color very nervous because they are pulling up on you based on certain characteristics that really don't matter. They're pulling up on you because you have a certain complexion. They're pulling up on you because maybe they found out you have a certain last name or you have an accent. My mother has an accent, born and raised on the island. So I get nervous for her too. But anyways, my wife had made a comment and she's like, hey, I'm a little nervous about you going with everything that's going on. I understand Kentucky is not where everything's happening, but at one point nothing was happening where it's happening right now. So we don't know where things are going to go or progress or bleed into. And she made the comment and I was like, there is something to that. And I didn't brush it off, but it was in the back of my mind. And pairing that with the fact that I move a certain way now. I don't try to leave without my ID. I make sure I have shit on me. And then a couple days later, I think within the same week, she mentioned it again. And then this time, as we discussed it, she teared up. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I can't go. As much as I want to fucking go. And I loved that camp. It was so much fun last year. And I was going to be able to teach this time, get to learn from new people and see old friends and people that I've had podcasts with and I've interacted with online. It's a little bit of a reunion in a sense. But seeing the way she genuinely felt and was scared of letting me go, she's like, I'm not going to tell you no. She wouldn't do that, but I'm genuinely scared, nervous for what could happen. And she goes on to say, if something happened here, you at least know San Diego, you know California, you know how things move, you know where you could go, where you couldn't go. You know the communities better. If you go there, you've only been there once. You don't really know what's going on. You don't really know what communities you can move in and out of a certain way. You don't, if something happened, I don't, like getting to you would be a problem and completely understand. So I had to reach out to my contact and just kind of explain that. And I don't like reneging on promises or things that I said that I was going to do, but I couldn't. So I felt bad having this conversation with Jesse, but I couldn't. Like, it sucks. Like, how can I leave knowing she feels the way she does on top of the way I feel naturally? But I couldn't. So I've had to cancel. So if I'm feeling this way, understand there are others that are feeling this way too. I posted about it online. I saw BJJ Mental Models had posted something to the effect of, let me pull it up. American friends, how are you holding up? And I wrote back, bro, as a Black Hispanic, I'm struggling. I left the house without my wallet the other day. I was blocks away and turned around worried about getting picked up without an ID. Not that it would matter. My wife is generally worried about me traveling outside the state to teach jiu-jitsu. I am struggling. And I got like a bunch of replies back about other people doing the same thing, worried about. One gentleman wrote, oh, my wife's traveling next month. She's Filipino, and I'm worried about that. One person says, I keep my real ID, passport, birth certificate on me 24/7. 24/7. Many of you are not going to understand any of this shit. None of it. It's not going to register to you. It doesn't apply to you because you're not the focus of what's going on now. But wherever However power is used against others, ultimately it's going to be used against you. Some of you are seeing what that looks like. This is a really tough time. And for us to continue to be completely quiet is a problem. The gym and the academies do not exist in a void. They do not exist by themselves. They do not exist outside of. Politics bleed in, especially these types of politics. This isn't a discussion about national debt and how we should spend money and should we put it on the poor or military complex. This isn't about any of those things. This is about genuine discomfort and fear that people are feeling, about economic upheaval. Like, if you're not careful, just on the economic side, your gyms are going to suffer because hobbies are the first things people cut. If there's a bunch of tariffs on gis and no-gi gear that you sell at your academy, that's going to get more expensive. Already is. I buy a gi from a company in the UK. It's my favorite gi. It's cheap, great quality, but there's a last time I bought it, $15 add-on fee because I'm buying it from the US as a US resident and it's coming in. So everything, most gi stuff, most jiu-jitsu stuff comes from Pakistan, comes from other countries. It's not made here necessarily, unless you're an Origin fan, and I can't afford that shit. If your students can't afford jiu-jitsu, how do you think they're feeling when they come to class, when they're driving in? How do you think they're feeling when they're leaving? How do you think that they're focusing? Like, these things they don't live in a vacuum. They don't live by themselves. They don't live outside of, we don't enter the space and be like, okay, everything's outside world is done. In a normal sense, a lot of that does happen. I get to the mats and I don't have to think about work, and work was stressful. But this shit is different. I had to drive in, and the entire time you're a little nervous about what might go on. Can you imagine that? If this isn't your reality right now, I want you to put yourself in those shoes. This isn't about what side of the aisle you live or work on or vote on. This is about your constituents, your friends, your families, your students, your instructors are dealing with something that I don't even want to say is unprecedented, because it is. That is incredibly unfair to them. You have no idea the amount of stress some people are going through right now simply because of this. It's hard. And it fucking sucks. So if you have a voice, my recommendation is that you start using it. You start voicing your discontent. You start pointing out where things are just, hey, no matter what part of you're part of, this is wrong. This isn't how we should conduct ourselves. Personally, I'm all for, hey, we want to get violent people out of the country who shouldn't be here because they got here illegally or whatever. Understood. But it's in the way that it's done that's a problem. They don't give a shit if you're an American citizen. If you fit a mold that doesn't fit what quote-unquote an American fits like or looks like or sounds like, you're getting the third degree. And they may or may not believe you. They may or may not give you due process. They might stick you somewhere. They're deporting people to countries that they're not even part of. The fuck is that? So all of this affects your gyms. All of it. Specifically, if you're in a place like a San Diego, LA, like, these are communities that there's a lot of black and brown people. Jiu-Jitsu of all places, like, there's a lot of Brazilians that are here illegally, if we're going to be honest. Or they're here legally, but they're not necessarily citizens, and they're targeting that demographic as well. So yes, it affects us as a group. We need to do better. We genuinely need to do better. If you have any questions, if you want support, if you need to talk it out, please hit me up, dfm.2099 on Instagram and Threads. Until next time, thank you so much.